It's 2 p.m, November the 12th, 1943. The island of Leros is inhabited by British troops and some German invaders. The reserve British units are just beginning to make their afternoon brew-up post-dinner when overhead they hear the drone of J. Junkers 52s. This is the situation that I have settled on for my take two of the game of Leros, and the second scenario. The coastal raiding company is implanted here, and I have 1, 2, 3 drop zones planned for one company each. That's 2 platoons or a platoon in a section per plane. At those points of the Fallschirmjäger battalion. Now, so that's 4 German companies have 10 turns, which is 3 hours, in which to capture 3 out of the 5 victory locations. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you can see that the company landing here is positioned to take Quaranta. Company here positioned to take Rachi Ridge, the company here positioned to take Mount Meraviglia, or perhaps support them depending on what resistance is met with. And these folks are hoping to take Mount Apache. Now, the British forces have a limited setup zones. So, for instance, I could not place, although these units can go anywhere within a setup zone, they're not free to go anywhere on the board. So no unit is free to be placed anywhere. The Germans have to choose their landing zones before they see the British setup. But obviously, checking over the reconnaissance, they know roughly the areas that are going to be, well, they know the areas that are going to be free, and they know roughly the areas that are going to be infested. These blue markers are just to remind me which companies are in reserve. So these ones are in a slightly dodgy position. They're in reserve and they're going to be under attack, so they'll be moving. But their objective is actually Castle Leros, so they'll be hoping to roll for to get their reserve assignment up to Castle Leros, or else all British forces failure instructions are Porto Largo. No, that's wrong. Sorry, I split 2 up sheets. So this force, which is mostly the Brits and some Sea Irish, retreat to Porto Largo, and this force here, which is Irish, will retreat up to this mountain 112 there. That's their rally points. Now, so I put out 2 up sheets. We got size 1 for the Irish up sheet, because they're all Irish from the same regiment. And we got size 2 for the British, because they've got some Kings mixed in with Kents, and even some Irish added in there. I had some questions about attachments, because there's a whole machine gun battalion which comprises I can't remember now. 4 sections, and I've attached them over here, and over here to the Irish reserve there, and they're actually listed on the setup as being in reserve, so I didn't know if I could attach them to a unit that wasn't in reserve, whether they would then become out of reserve, or if they have to roll for their reserve assignment separately from the reserve unit which they might be attached to, which has its own assignment roll. I'm not sure. I've decided to count them as attached, so they wouldn't, even though they might be going to the same place, considering that their reserve assignment will be the same thing, so they'll just they won't have to make a separate roll from the company that they're attached to. But it's not clarified in the rules whether that is the case or not. I mean, they do say don't be too tight on the op sheets, so I guess it's fine. Yeah, so just to remind you, that's where the reserves are headed, which means we're going to have a nice clash here. We've got Fallschirmjägers heading to take that. This Irish battalion. That's with the reserve units. You don't have to declare their assignment until you want to start rolling for it. But this is the likely thrusts. So they're sort of prepared for. The Beacons is going to Mount Apache, so obviously that's going to be contested. And the Sea Irish will be alright, but the Kings will be combating against the Cust Company there. So it might only be that Ratchy Ridge that is uncontested, so it'll be interesting to see what the German company do there. But the first thing which we have to find out is how those paratroopers land, because they're inevitably going to take some losses as they come down. Trouble is we've got anti-aircraft guns here, and down here. Can't quite see that, it's just on the edge of the map, the bottom unit. They have a range of 14 hexes, so if they cover any of the drop zones, it's going to increase the likelihood of casualties. Also, if any enemy unit is within 3 hexes, such as here, that will also increase the likelihood of casualties upon dropping. But first I have to roll. I choose a direction of drift, so I use a counter and mark it on a little point here to decide where the wind drift will be. So I guess what's that simulation is kind of picking a direction for coming in relation to the wind, but then there's some randomization that occurs in relation to that. Now, weather is normal at start, and it's normal all the way for the first 2 hours, so you only roll for weather on the 1600 turn for the last hour. So the drops are going to occur in normal weather, which is fine for them, obviously. Now I have to apply this direction of drift before beginning my drops, and it's the same for every turn. So these 3 drops, if I land them all in the same turn, then they'll all have the same direction of drift. I'm going to do that because we don't have much time, but then I have to kind of guess what I want my likely overshoot to be, and I think I want it to be towards the southwest, because that's going to bring my troopers away from water, away from the coast, and perhaps not much further away from their targets. Now I place a drop zone marker in a hex, and I can have like a stack of junkers in the same drop zone. So I'll place that on the map, you can't see, but there. So I'm going to have 2 junkers for each of those drop zones. And I scatter for direction and distance. Distance is divided by 2 rounded down, so that scatters 2 hexes in that direction. Then I roll a dice, subtract 2, and put it in the direction of drift, and this is for each flight. So that's 1 junkers for each flight, so that's 1, 2, 3 that way. And according to the scatter, I put it in one of the adjacent hexes. So that flight goes there, and this other flight goes, now that's 1 minus 2, so that's minus 1, opposite to the direction of drift, and then that adjacent hex. So he landed bang on drop zone. Then I take, they land in move mode, then they cannot move or fight on on the turn that they land, but if they are engaged in assault combat, they attack and defend with a combat value of 1. Now I have to roll for loss, potential loss. So what I do is I take parachute loss table, I check distance to nearest British unit. So let's do this one first. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's 4, so that's gone, but then 3 plus for AA, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, there's an AA within range, which then means that on seeing as he has 5 steps, each infantry unit, he's going to lose 1 step, automatic, no roll. You subtract 1 for landing on coast, 1 hex from distance for landing on coast, landing in woods, landing on visual coast, landing at night, and 1 or more AA guns in range. So, actually, yeah, so basically it takes 1. So I understand that. So each of them is just going to take 1 hit. And then it'll be the same for this one as well, which is unfortunate because it means the machine gun sections land with just 1 step. I guess it's kind of similar, it's also like loss of equipment and so forth. So I'll do that for the rest of the flights, and then we'll see where they end up. We've got this here and this one over here. Okay, I made a mistake, so the machine gun sections are 2 steps. So at that range they wouldn't lose anything, but at 2 they would. So if they were, in effect, if they were within 3 hexes of an infantry unit and within 14 of 1 or more AA guns, you would lose a step on the machine gun sections, but still only lose 1 step on the infantry. So in effect, each infantry platoon is really going to take 1 step loss. In this scenario, you'd have to be well away from any anti-aircraft guns not to. Okay, so that's the starting setup. Germans take the first turn, and we'll see what they do.